It's Margaret here from Emmy's Orchids, and I thought what I'd do this very autumnal afternoon in England is unpot and mount this little Dendrobium williamsonii. It's a little bit worse for wear. Just let me just take that off and show you. She gets a little bit neglected. She's got a little bit of sphagnum moss at the bottom, and she's got some orchid bark. But she sits in the lower shelf, and I think that's why she gets a little bit neglected, because she's lower down, and I have to get down on my hands and knees to go to the lower shelf. So I thought the best thing to do is try and mount her. And I've got a piece of wood here and a little bit of sphagnum moss. This Dendrobium, as you can see, it has little black furry pseudobulbs. That's the newest one, and as they age, they turn from the hairy pseudobulbs to the ordinary sheath. So if you'll just bear with me a minute, I'll unpot and I'll come back to you. Now this is a root system. If I just pick her up, some of the roots have adhered to the sphagnum moss. I use New Zealand sphagnum moss, and some of the roots have actually attached to the orchid bark. So what I thought I'd do, they don't look brilliant. They look a little bit, desiccated. So that means she's not been watered correctly. She's been allowed to dry out too much. And this Dendrobium, if I just put the little label in front, pale yellow flowers, lit bright orange in its spring, and it comes from India, and it needs a rest in the winter. So basically this poor little orchid should have received monsoon rains, and then she has the dry winter rest, and then she flowers in the spring. So if I've just timed it right, she'll still be okay for the monsoon rains to hit her. When I mount her on this piece of bark, and I'll put some sphagnum moss round her roots, and then I'll keep her hydrated. So I'll be back in a second. So she's sitting in some lukewarm water now, and I'm going to allow a quarter of an hour to absorb the moisture into her roots. And then while I do this, I'm going to make a cup of tea for me and my husband. And my husband did an orchid count the other day, because I had explained to you when I was emptying the shelves in the orchid room, I'd got 60-something orchids. And with a big exclamation mark, he said to me, "Do you know how many orchids you've got?" And me, in my naivety and my little kind of Cheshire cat smile, said, "I've no idea how many." 103, he said. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. So I've just bobbed into the living room while the little Dendrobium's having a soak, and I just wanted to show you where the little violets are now sitting. As I say, autumn's come very quickly for us here in England, well in the northwest where I live, and even in the hallway last night, even though the central heating has clicked in, I still had to bring the African violets into the living room. This one here, this Romanica, you see the size of that? It's enormous. It's the biggest little flower of all the African violets. And if I just sneak in here, whoops, I don't want to knock a little flower head off. Oh, look at that, that's little Axel. Isn't she a cutie? And we're on to the living room windowsill now, and the light's not, oops, that makes it even worse, doesn't it? This is the no ID file, the one I got from the Aldi supermarket, and this one's actually opened all her blooms now. So she's really enjoying it, and I don't know that I can show you the other one because the light will be against me. Let's just have a look if I can stretch over and just show you this one. This has still got a lot of blooms. Excuse me while I just squeeze past everything. She's still got a lot of blooms to open yet. And I'll quickly show you outside. We've got this autumnal weather now. We're supposed to have rain today, but so far it hasn't arrived. That's the ginger lily there, and the Japanese anemone. It's a lovely view from our living room window. So going out, as I say, I'm going to have a cup of tea now, and I shall be back shortly. Oh, that's the Christmas cactus now. She's been outside and she started to colour up with having so much sun on her. So bear with me, folks, and I shall be back shortly. I felt a little bit mean missing out Otto, the other African violet I've got, and this is full of bud. They've not quite opened yet. And if I move this little leaf back here, she's got more buds developing under there. And last but not least, this is the madam, and she's still got lots and lots of buds to open yet. She's a pretty little thing. Now she's really stuck to this sphagnum moss I've got her in the orchid bark. I've just cut a couple of desiccated roots off. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to struggle and remove this bark. As you see, that root there is completely adhered to it. So I'm going to see which is the best position to put her on. I've got this kind of rope here. I would normally put her on with fishing line, but Raquel doesn't really recommend the fishing line. He thinks we should be using something that will actually disintegrate in itself, and by that time the roots will have adhered to the bark. So I'll just see how I go on, and then I'll come back to you with the finished product. Well, there she is. She's all finished, and although she's not aesthetically pleasing to the eye with that twine, it just looks a little bit, now it's got the wet from the sphagnum moss, but that will dry, and as it dries it'll tighten up a little bit, but she's completely solid there. As you see, I've got a little hanger here, and I'll just put her down a little bit now. Her roots actually go right the way down here, so I've had to leave some of the old sphagnum moss and bark on, and just tucked under there, just inside there, she's also got root growth. So I might just cut that little burnt tip off there, which I will do in a minute. But like I say, she's got a lovely new soda bulb here, and it's only my neglect. Like I say, she's been on one of the lower shelves, and she, my eyesight doesn't always catch her. But now she's on this little mount. she's got plenty of room to come out or go up or go down. So that's another little job finished, and I'm glad you could join me today. As I say, it's very autumnal outside, and we seem to be shutting down very quickly here for autumn. Blast it, because that means dark nights. But never mind, we all have to deal with what we have to deal with. So from me to you, enjoy your orchids, and we'll speak soon. Bye now.